Okay, let's dive in. You hear a name like Operation Sindoor. It doesn't immediately scream military strike, does it?
No, it really doesn't.
Huh?
Sindoor, it has this deep cultural resonance
No.
symbolizing dignity, remembrance.
Exactly. And yet, that's the name India gave to this incredibly precise, very swift response to a major terrorist attack. That's what we're unpacking today.
Hmm.
We're going to dig into the sources you've shared, try to get the key facts out, understand what actually happened, but also, maybe more importantly, why this whole event matters.
Absolutely. And what's interesting is how the material we have doesn't just give us the tactical play-by-play, really digs into the strategy, the symbolism, the bigger picture.
Right. So let's start at the beginning, the trigger. What actually set this operation in motion?
Well, it goes back to April 22nd, 2025. There was a really terrible terrorist attack in Pahalgam in Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay.
26 civilians were killed. I mean, it was brutal, and that severity, that scale,
Oh, yeah.
that was the direct catalyst, no question.
26 people.
Okay.
So a major event like that happens. How did India respond? What was the thinking?
The response came pretty quickly, actually, on May 7th. It was framed as a calibrated military response.
Calibrated, so planned, specific, not just a reaction.
Exactly. The idea wasn't just broad retaliation. They targeted 9 specific terrorist camps. These were spread across Pakistan and Pakistan-administered Kashmir. Very specific locations.
9 camps. And how did they actually carry this out? Was it just one branch of the military?
No, and that's a key point the sources make. This is a full tri-service operation. You had the Army, the Air Force, and the Navy all involved.
Really? The Navy, too. How did they fit in?
Well, the specifics of the naval role aren't fully detailed in what we have, but their inclusion points to, significant C4ISR coordination, maybe maritime domain awareness, or even launching platforms, potentially. The main thing is it shows a high level of jointness.
Okay, so serious coordination. Let's talk about the pointy end. The Air Force, what were they using? I see Rafale jets mentioned.
Yes, the Rafales were central, and they were loaded out. We're talking Scalpy missiles. Those are for deep, hardened targets.
Right.
Then Hammer glide bombs for precision strikes, BrahMos cruise missiles, and also these things called Sky Striker loitering munitions. Basically, smart drones.
Wow, quite a toolkit. So how long did this all take with all these assets involved?
That's maybe the most startling part. The entire operation, hitting all 9 camps, was over in about 23 to 25 minutes.
25 minutes, start to finish.
That's what the reports indicate. Incredibly fast and effective. All 9 camps destroyed. The estimates for neutralized terrorists range from around 70 to potentially over 100.
That speed is just staggering. It speaks volumes about the planning, the intelligence.
Oh, absolutely. The level of real-time intel and execution needed for that is immense.
But there's another layer here, isn't there, beyond just hitting the camps? What didn't they hit?
Yes, and this is crucial. The sources emphasize that Indian forces deliberately avoided hitting any Pakistani military infrastructure or civilian areas.
Deliberately avoided. So that sends a message too.
A very clear one. It was about targeting the terrorists
Yep.
specifically. It signaled, look, we can reach you precisely, but we're choosing not to escalate this into a wider state-on-state conflict. It was about restraint, even in retaliation.
Okay, so the strikes themselves are over quickly, but things didn't just stop there, right? What was Pakistan's immediate reaction?
They did retaliate, yeah. Mostly with drones and UCAVs, unmanned combat aerial vehicles. They targeted some Indian air bases and logistics hubs.
And how did that go?
According to the Indian accounts, those attacks were neutralized pretty swiftly. They credit their integrated command and control systems for taking them down effectively. It showcased their defensive shield, essentially.
Interesting. So strike and counterstrike, but contained. What about the sort of ripples further out, diplomatic, military changes within each country?
Yeah, there were definite internal reverberations. In Pakistan, the army chief was promoted to field marshal soon after, and the air chief's term was extended. You could read that as, consolidating military leadership.
Okay. And in India?
Internal promotions, too. Notably, Lieutenant General Rajiv Ghai was made Deputy Chief of Army Staff, specifically overseeing strategy. That suggests a focus on, well, the strategic lessons and future planning coming out of this.
So this leads to the big question, I guess. Was this whole thing an escalation, or did that deliberate restraint actually prevent a bigger conflict? How do analysts see it?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The general consensus, looking at the analyses, seems to be that India managed to demonstrate significant capability, real resolve. but did so in a measured way that successfully avoided tipping things into a wider war.
So flexing muscle, but controlled flexing.
Precisely. Some analysts go further, suggesting the strikes might have actually degraded Pakistani air defense capabilities significantly, maybe setting them back years. There's even speculation, though it is more speculative, that it might have impacted their access or security concerning their nuclear assets.
Wow, okay. That's a potential long-term strategic shift then.
It definitely points towards that possibility, a shift in the perceived regional power balance, perhaps.
Let's circle back to the name Sindoor. We touched on it, but can you explain that symbolism a bit more? Why choose that specific word?
Right. So Sindoor is the red powder traditionally worn by married Hindu women in the parting of their hair. It's a powerful symbol of, well, marriage, dignity, auspiciousness.
Okay.
Choosing that name for this operation was a very deliberate, very symbolic act. It was meant to honor the victims of the Pahalgam attack, particularly the women who were widowed. It linked the military action directly back to the human cost, framing it as a response driven by moral resolve, by remembrance.
That adds a whole different dimension. It's not just tactical, it's deeply narrative. How was this narrative then communicated nationally?
Oh, it was woven into the official messaging very strongly. Prime Minister Modi, for instance, talked about it during the 2025 Independence Day celebrations, framing it as, a powerful reaffirmation of India's sovereignty and resolve.
Right. NSA Ajit Doval highlighted the precision, the success, specifically mentioning that no Indian bases were harmed in the counterattacks, reinforcing that surgical effectiveness narrative.
And the defense minister.
Rajnath Singh, yeah. He described the accuracy of the execution as unimaginable. All these statements built this picture of a highly competent, precise, and morally grounded military action.
And this narrative was also backed up by, well, actual recognition for the people involved, right? Medals and awards.
Definitely. Gallantry medals were awarded across all three services, Army, Air Force, Navy. And there was something quite unprecedented here.
What was that?
For the first time, Air Force and Navy officers received the War Service Medal for this type of operation. That really underscores how integrated, how tri-service this truly was perceived to be internally.
That's significant. Any specific names highlighted?
Yes, several. Rafale pilot Ranjit Singh Sidhu got the Veer Chakra, which is a major gallantry award. There were also awards for officials in Punjab and Naib Subedar Satish Kumar from Himachal Pradesh, recognition at various levels.
And there was also a focus on the role of women in this, wasn't there?
Yes, absolutely. That was another interesting thread in the public narrative. It really shone a spotlight on women in the armed forces.
How so?
Well, for example, on a big TV show, KBC, during their Independence Day special, they featured 3 women officers. Colonel Sophia Krushi from the Army, Wing Commander Vyomika Singh from the Air Force, and Commander Prerna Diostili from the Navy. They actually shared some insights about the operation.
Giving it a human face, and a diverse one.
Exactly. And beyond that, media reports consistently mentioned that over 100 women were involved in various capacities in Operation Sindoor. It became part of the story, showcasing a modern, inclusive military.
So, bringing it all together, if
Yeah.
you had to distill the main takeaway from Operation Sindoor, what would it be? What did this event really demonstrate?
I think the core takeaway is that it was a demonstration of precise power projection combined with strategic restraint. India showed it had the capability and the will to retaliate significantly, but also the control to limit escalation. It certainly boosted India's defense credibility.
A case study in modern conflict, perhaps?
You could say that. It's a fascinating example of blending hard power with very careful calibration and strong symbolic messaging.
Which leads us to that final thought for our listeners to chew on.
Right. So think about this. How might an operation like Sindoor, so incredibly fast, so precise, wrapped in such specific symbolism, and crucially, designed not to ignite a wider war, how might that change the way nations think about